Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of AoS Close-Ups. This week we're going to take a look at Sigmar's elite heavy infantry, the Paladins. We'll touch on the different types of Paladins, their rules, and how their roles differ on the table. Paladins are the heavy shock troops of Sigmar's forces, able to completely pulverize the enemy, whether it be horde or monster. They are separated into three different types of conclaves to better handle the challenge at hand: the Retributors, the Protectors, and the Decimators. First of the Paladins are the Retributors, the wrath of the heavens made flesh, striding into the mortal realms to bring a cleansing justice to the followers of chaos. Each warrior bears a lightning hammer, a weapon so massive that it would take 6 mortal men to lift it. Strike after strike, the Retributors bring these hammers down with deadly efficiency, to not only crush the bodies of the enemy, but also through the powerful celestial energies that crackle around the weapon to burn and blast the foe to ash. Retinues of Retributors can reduce even titanic leviathans to nothing more than burnt gore, and have even given greater demons pause. Next are the Protectors, also known as the Guardian Paladins, and they are often seen accompanying Lord Celestants and Lord Relictors into battle, wielding whirling Stormstrike glaives. These arcane glaives allow the Protectors to weave a celestial aura so powerful that it deflects incoming projectiles. This powerful defensibility not only serves them in their role as bodyguards, but also often places them at the spear tip of many assaults. Once combat has been joined, these protective guardians transform into nightmarish masters of dismemberment, able to slice even the limbs of all sorts of monstrosities. Finally, the Axemen of Azir, the Decimators. They wade into the hordes, eradicating scores of enemies with each swing. Armed with massive thunder axes, these destroyer paladins can be easily identified in the chaos of battle, from the severed limbs and cleaved heads being flung skyward as they slay rank after rank of the foe. This gruesome performance is often too much for the enemy, and soon enough once brave warriors choose to flee rather than continue to face such a grim threat. All 3 units of Paladins have the same main stats that make them stubborn tanks. Each boasts 3 wounds under a 4+ save. They also have a bravery of 7, which works well with their wound count, effectively making them battle shock proof. The opponent will need to inflict at least 6 wounds just to trigger a test. All Paladins share the same weakness, as they are all on the low end of the movement spectrum with only 4 inches. The differences between these units really comes into play from their weapon options and special rules. So first, let's take a look at the Retributors. Here we see that they're outfitted with a lightning hammer, which gives them a range of 1 inch. They have a humble 2 attacks each that hit and wound on 3s. In addition, those attacks have a -1 rend and can inflict 2 wounds each. This offensive stat line, combined with their semi-tanky defense, puts them on par with most other elite units like the Khorne Blood Warriors, the Chaos Chosen, and the Seraphon Saurus Knights. The Blast to Ashes ability makes them slightly more effective offensively by allowing you a way to skip the to wound roll and your opponent's armor save. Any 6 to hit will automatically inflict 2 mortal wounds. Next are the Protectors. They are armed with the Stormstrike glaive that has an outrageous 3-inch threat range. The Protectors have 3 attacks each, again hitting and wounding on 3s with a -1 rend and a 1 damage characteristic. Protectors have 2 abilities each, the first being Storm Shield, representing them whirling their glaives like a propeller airplane that makes all shooting at them have a -1 penalty. This ability is also conferred to any unit behind the Protectors. The second ability is called Death Strike. Any attacks that wound on a 6 boost the damage characteristic from 1 to D6 if the target is a monster. This is a very specific contingent rule, but the results can be surprisingly devastating. Finally, we have the Devastators, who have the middling but still effective 2-inch threat range from their Thunder Axes. They do not have a set number of attacks, instead their Cleaving Blow ability allows each Decimator to have 1 attack per model in range, with each attack having a -1 rend and doing 1 wound. In addition to this ability, they also have the Grim Resolve, which effectively lowers the bravery by 2 for all units within 6 inches when battle shock tests are taken. No matter the Paladin retinue chosen, they all have the same option to arm up to 2 models, each with the Star Soul Mace. This weapon gives the Paladins the ability to inflict an automatic D3 mortal wounds in each combat phase, which sets an important guaranteed minimal damage threshold. Now that we have the letter of the rules down, let's go ahead and jump in and talk about their roles on the tabletop. So the question you may be asking yourself is, which of the Paladins is the best? And right away I have to say you're asking the wrong question. The better question is, what is each version of Paladin best at accomplishing? And to start out this discussion, let's look at the most straightforward version, the Decimator. With a 2-inch threat range and the cleaving blow ability, the Decimators are really only suited for one thing, and that is tackling units of 1 wound models, particularly if those units are hordes. A unit of 18 Blood Reavers unlucky enough to have surrounded 3 Decimators is generating 18 plus attacks minimum, and that's taking for granted that there's 0 overlap between the Reavers and individual Decimators, which I'm pretty sure is impossible. Conversely, Decimators are least suited for taking on monsters and characters, as they can only generate 1 attack off of a lone unit, and with only dealing 1 damage each, you shouldn't be expected to be able to take them down. Against medium elite units with 2 wounds like Chaos Warriors, the Decimators should be able to live up to their name, considering the Grim Resolve ability. But during the attrition, you really shouldn't expect to automatically triumph against those type of units without some support. The Decimators are truly horde eradicators. Next we have the Protectors, whose Death Strike ability puts a tool in the toolbox when faced with monsters. However, a unit of 3 generates only 9 attacks, meaning 6 should hit and 4 will wound on basic averages. You cannot expect, even when you finally engage a monster, to roll the 6s when you need them to, and even if you do, there's always a chance that you'll roll that 1 or 2 when the D6 pops up. On the upside, however, the 3-inch threat range does mean that they can more conveniently maximize their attacks against solo units like monsters. However, taking this 3-inch threat range, with the ability to convert a -1 penalty to hit from shooting attacks, will make the role as bodyguard and zone denier much more easier for them than the role of monster hunter. If you need to hold a terrain piece or escort a character, the Protectors are your unit to help accomplish this goal. As combat develops, the 3-inch threat range will also allow you to support areas of the combat crowded with 1-inch threat range allies, as long as you remember to keep the Protectors close enough to these units so that when they were engaged, the Protectors were also unavoidably or inadvertently engaged also. Finally, we have the Retributors. With only a 1-inch threat range, the Retributors are not the ideal combat support that the Protectors are. And with only 2 attacks doing 2 wounds each, they cannot be expected to go into a horde of foes and quickly dispatch them. No, where the Retributors fall are the counter to your opponent's similar elite infantry or even against non-monster characters. The Retributors serve as a safe bet when you feel you need to have an aggressive unit but don't want to fall into a complete mismatch, as might be the case with the other 2 versions of the Paladins. In the end, all 3 versions of the Paladins have their refined areas of use as assault troops, and who, thanks to their relatively tanky features, can also serve to hold off a portion of the board once captured. Their only weakness really is getting them to where you need them, and to be against what you want them to fight. And that will conclude this episode of AoS Close-Ups. Please like and subscribe, feel free to comment below about what unit you'd like to see next, and thank you for watching.